Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the St. Baldrick's Impact Series. My name is Mariela Castillo, and I'm the Director of Special Events here at St. Baldrick's, sitting in for our usual host, CEO Kathleen Ruddy. Today, I'm thrilled to sit with Nick Morhdieck, who is a two-time shavee, St. Baldrick Summer Fellow, and recent college graduate who initiated the head shaving tradition at University of Wisconsin in Madison in 2020. Nick was first introduced to St. Baldrick's when applying for his summer fellowship, but felt inclined to do more as he learned about the foundation's signature head shaving events to fund childhood cancer research. Oh.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Carrie. I'm an event coach at St. Baldrick's and managing the technology for today's Impact Series. So just to continue on introducing Nick. Nick was first introduced to St. Baldrick's when applying for summer fellowship at St. Baldrick's, but felt inclined to do more as he learned more about the foundation's signature head shaving events to fund childhood cancer research. And with a lot of community support, creative fundraising, and determination and support with his teammates, the University of Wisconsin-Madison community raised over $8,400 safely in the height of COVID-19. We're excited to hear more about how Nick led his team to overcome the obstacles of the pandemic, and also to learn more about how St. Baldrick's impacted his college experience. So please join me in welcoming Nick to the interview.
Hi, Carrie. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited. Again, you have been such a phenomenal volunteer, and just the few years that you've been involved with St. Baldrick's, so passionate about the mission. So I'm really excited. We know that you learned about St. Baldrick's through the summer fellowship application, but what motivated you to really start and take that next step to start the event at your university?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I was a St. Baldrick Summer Fellow, and kind of how that application process works is you identify that you want to work in the research lab over the summer, so you have to get grant funding, and usually you have to apply in the fall before that grant funding would actually start. So in the fall of my sophomore year, I basically applied to the grant process and was really excited about kind of the research aspect of doing that summer fellowship. And then once I submitted the grant, I went through the whole process of writing the personal statement and kind of why, I felt that this grant would help my research. And as I was interacting with that application process, I was searching on the St. Baldrick's website day after day, and kind of the same theme kept coming up of, how can you help more? How can you, contribute to this great foundation? And really what led it to, actually doing the event was I just got on the phone and I called St. Baldrick's and I said, I want to help more. I want to kind of do more for this foundation other than just doing research. And literally within a 20-minute phone call, we talked through all the different options, and it felt like just in a span of a minute, we had a head shaving event that was kind of on the schedule to really get started. And I think at that point there, it really led me to want to really help the organization and do everything I could to kind of develop that head shaving event. So, a couple months kind of went by. We got the event all organized. We kind of laid the groundwork. And then as I was posting on my social media page, just kind of about the event, about like excited for doing this summer fellowship, I actually had a family friend reach out to me with a very personal story that really made the head shaving event and really made my research kind of come full circle and really show the impact that St. Baldrick's can have. And just kind of briefly, I'll share that story where there was a 5-year-old boy. His name was Michael. He ended up being my honored kid for the event. And he actually had neuroblastoma, which was the type of cancer that I was doing my research on at the University of Wisconsin. And they basically shared this story about how Michael went through, rounds and rounds of chemotherapy. He went through all these different treatments. He went through bone marrow transplants, radiology, went through radiation treatments. And it was just kind of crazy to me to think that as a 5-year-old, this boy was going through one of life's toughest challenges. And it just inspired me to really do everything I could to help him. And, the way we could help him was, give our all in our fundraising efforts, give our all at putting on a great event. And eventually, once I made it into the lab, just give my all in that lab and devote every hour I had of research to really finding a treatment that would help kids that were just like Michael.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of serendipitous of how personal the mission became to you once you started to apply for the fellowship and, got the event started. So like I mentioned before, you started your university's head shaving event in 2020, which was definitely a very interesting year and definitely presented some challenges due to COVID. But regardless, you guys still raised over $8,400. So please just walk me through the steps. What did you do to overcome these challenges?
Yeah, well, I think, first it starts before COVID even really affected the US and college campuses around the country because, once I signed up to do this head shaving event, one of the first things I was told to do is really assemble a team of people that you feel confident to help you run this event. So even before, we heard of all of the campus shutdowns, I was going to close friends and saying, hey, would you be interested in helping in this event? I think it really has the ability to catch a lot of traction around campus and, really be something that could be big. And, obviously for people who may not have been as connected to St. Baldrick's as I was, it was a resume booster for them. So to kind of advertise it as, hey, you first off, you want to help kind of fundraise money for children's cancer research. And then on top of that, this would be a great event to put on your resume that you helped run. I really got a lot of interest from a lot of close friends. And then obviously when the COVID shutdowns did happen, it made it that much easier to kind of brainstorm when you had a team of, 6, 7, 8 people who could sit down on a Zoom call and just talk about different ways that we could really help fundraise. And obviously, once we were in COVID, we really understood the importance of social media. I remember one of the members that I worked with was pretty well proficient in, social media coverage and really took on running our social media page to do the daily posts, do the, the different stories, do the different fundraising opportunities that social media had available to us. And really being able to utilize social media helped, especially when we couldn't be on campus and couldn't connect with students face to face. We were able to reach many students just by social media. And then I think, the third thing was just recognizing that we were busy and really understanding that people had their roles and just trusting those people that they would have their roles. And, I have to give a shout out to 2 people in particular, which was Evan Sadlon and Delaney Topel, just because they really helped keep this event, on the tracks. They helped fundraising efforts. They really helped come up with great ideas. And at the end of the day, they just helped support me through kind of the vision that I had to run this event.
That's amazing. It sounds like it really was just a huge team effort. And so, what impact did planning a St. Baldrick's event have on your college experience?
Yeah, I think as far as impact goes, I mean, it was huge. Obviously, just going through college itself is hard enough. And then when you add on, trying to run some sort of fundraising event, that really adds an extra dimension to college as it was. And I think it really kind of gave me a different perspective of college. I think a lot of people, they go away to college and it's just about, school and social life. And, obviously I wanted to do the school and the social life part of it, but then I had this event to run and it kind of felt like, this was just another aspect of the college experience where I got to interact with, local businesses. I got to interact with different campus staff trying to, set up different fundraising events or different, fundraising opportunities where I could go talk to a class or talk to, a department and say, hey, would you be willing to help us fundraise? And I think some of the other fun part and how it really just put college into perspective was obviously working with a foundation that works with pediatric cancer. I mean, you realize how lucky you are to be as healthy as you are when you do get to meet these different kids and these different families, and it just really makes you feel grateful for the life that you've had, and just feel grateful for whatever condition you're in. And obviously, college is stressful, and you're going to have a bad exam, or you're going to have a bad week where you just didn't get as much done as you wanted. And then you put into perspective, some of these kids really are fighting for their lives, really. And it just makes you kind of feel a little bit more empathetic for the kind of life that you've been having.
Yeah, definitely. It really is a perspective shift for sure. So just to take a moment, if you're just joining us, we're talking to Nick Morhdieck, who is a St. Baldrick Summer Fellow, 2-time shavee, and hopefully a 3rd time, and a recent college graduate who started the head shaving event at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2020. And so I'm actually going to hand things off back to Mariela, who is the Director of Special Events, to continue the interview.
Hi, Nick. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
So Nick, continuing on with the conversation, what are some valuable skills that you've developed by organizing a St. Baldrick's event?
Yeah, so really early on, I kind of set a motto for planning the event, and that motto was, vision, plan, perform. And really, the basis of that is to really imagine, the different aspects of the event. So the vision part, how are we going to fundraise? How are we going to host the event? And take all of those different ideas, where if we were virtual, figure out, okay, what's a good, virtual fundraising platform? And one of the really good ideas we had was there was a time when everyone was trying to raise money for, like COVID relief funds, or different charities just around the country that were helping with COVID. And they would do this idea where there would be boxes on, like an Instagram story or a Facebook story. And each of those boxes would have different, costs to them. And if you donated to that cost, you would basically have your name pop up over that box. So then, everyone who sees that story sees that, someone was donating that amount of money. And the idea behind that is it's supposed to incentivize, other people to really get in on that cause. So, we figured, why not give that a shot? And I think at the end of that particular idea, we maybe raised close to like $500 just from that specific social media story coverage. So that was like a great example of just a vision, like something where we held a weekly meeting and someone came to that meeting and said, why don't we try this with our fundraiser and just see what can happen? And, when you lay all the pieces out, it seems like a lot, but when you can actually take it step by step and plan through the process, figure out who's going to be in charge of the money, figure out who's going to be in charge of, the story production of it, who's going to be in charge of actually spreading that story around. And then you get to the last stage of, performing it and actually putting it on. It really, does the idea diligence, and it shows that just by having a simple idea in your head, you can really make a big impact with that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure it was amazing to see it all come together, come to life. And, everyone has a piece in it all, and it's pretty incredible.
Absolutely. And I think, again, I kind of piece that to the team that I surrounded myself with. I will not take credit for all of these ideas because they weren't my ideas. I mean, they came from all the team members that I kind of surrounded myself with. And it just shows that if you have enough people who are really passionate about a cause, you can get a lot done with that.
Yeah, there's the teamwork makes the dream work, right? That's
Absolutely.
that's something we live by here at St. Baldrick's for sure. So how would you say that those skills that you learned in organizing a St. Baldrick's event have contributed to your experience as a clinical research coordinator at Medical College of Wisconsin?
Yeah, so I think, first and foremost, as a coordinator now, I still do cancer clinical trials. So just having that background of, understanding what it is like when a family member or when an individual, gets that cancer diagnosis. It's not like when you go to the doctor and you get diagnosed with a head cold or something. There's a lot more emotion, there's a lot more care, and there's just a lot more conversation that I think needs to happen. So having that background of being able to interact with patients and their families, and just understanding the emotional connection that you have to have with those patients, I think really helped first and foremost. And then also, believe it or not, just creativity. Clinical trials are hard enough for us who specialize in it to understand, let alone a patient who has just been given a cancer diagnosis or who has just been told that they progressed on their disease. So there's a lot of emotion there, and it's hard to really digest what we might be telling you about this clinical trial. So to be able to kind of take a step back and just put it into lay terms and say, this is how I would think about it, or this is an analogy that I would make to maybe make this clinical trial seem a little bit easier to understand, goes a long way, especially for a patient who might just be looking for that kind of a support to just slow things down a little bit.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
one other thing that I think really helped, and this is more of like a patient connection more than anything, is just having trust in us. And it's hard to step inside a room when you're one-on-one with a patient doing a huge 40-page consent of a clinical trial and say, trust us, this will help you. And I think having that experience to know how delicate that situation might be, and to understand just the type of language that you need to use to really build that trust between yourself and the patient was really helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those are really great examples. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Nick, what advice would you give to other college students who are interested in starting a head shaving event but are not really sure what to do?
Yeah, I
Advice?
mean, I would say I was one of those kids where, I was looking for a way to really get involved with the pediatric cancer community, and I just kind of threw my hands in the air and I was like, I don't know what to do here. And I think the first step is just, doing a simple Google search and just literally saying, what can I do to help this cause? And you'll be sure to have stuff pop up. Obviously, St. Baldrick's will probably pop up. There will be other organizations that pop up too, and that's obviously where you want to start of how can I get involved, how can I help, and just figure out the different avenues that you can take. And then once you have that avenue that you want to take, I think the best way to just really go for it is to just say, I'm going to do it. The hardest part of anything is always starting and always actually getting yourself to make that call, make that email, press that button that says, I really want to help. And then once you start, then you're going to have a team that's there to support you. You're going to have, an organization like St. Baldrick's that is going to have contacts on that end to say, this is what previous people have done. This is what, we recommend you do. This is kind of how, we run events here. And eventually you start seeing all of the pieces kind of falling into place slowly but surely. And I think one thing that I kind of struggled with along the way was I always wanted my event to, be quote unquote the best event there could ever be. And, you set your goals and you say, I'm going to, raise $100,000, or I'm going to, I want to raise $1,000,000. And realistically, that's just not going to happen. I mean, unless, you have all 40,000 students that are getting involved with it. So I think just being real with yourself and really setting realistic goals of, instead of saying, oh, I want to raise $100,000, maybe make a difference and say, I want to get in touch with a pediatric cancer survivor, or I want to get in touch with a pediatric cancer, patient that's currently going through treatment, and I want to make a difference in that person's life. Or, say like, I want to do something that is going to impact that family, that's going to make them know that, like, we're here to support them. We're here thinking about them. We're here going to try whatever we can to do to make that treatment go as well as possible. And I think when you kind of shift that focus from it being so like money oriented to, I want to raise this amount of money, versus I want to impact this type of person, I think it really changes your vision of the event, and it makes the event that much more enjoyable, because regardless of however much money you fundraise, that you're actually making a difference in someone's life. And, when you do that, the fundraising does come with that. I mean, obviously, when you can share a personal story about, hey, I met a 5-year-old kid who has gone through, 6 different chemotherapy treatments, it really lends light to the event to show people that by getting involved with this, you're actually going to make a difference in that kid's life.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so impactful and very, very true. Thank you for that.
Of course.
So Nick, thank you so much for taking the time today to share your experience as a volunteer event organizer and how it's impacted your time at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. It really has been a pleasure today. And thank you to Carrie for stepping in a little earlier. But yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. And, again, St. Baldrick's Foundation is a big part of my life now. You guys have done amazing things for me. And, I hope to really continue this friendship, we'll call it, that I have with the foundation. And, you guys do really great stuff for the pediatric cancer community. And, you're going to continue to really change lives.
Thank you. And we look forward to many years of partnership with you as well.
Absolutely.
And thank you today to our audience for tuning in. Until next time, thank you for helping to give kids a lifetime.